I went back home to get my wallet and heard my husband and my best friend making love in our bedroom, right under the photograph from our wedding. That's when I realized that 25 years of marriage were over, but my real life was just beginning. That morning, I had left our cozy house for just 5 minutes to buy bread at the bakery on the corner. The relentless Austin sun was blazing, turning the streets into a sizzling frying pan. I wore the straw hat Jason had brought me from a trip to New Orleans 3 years ago, and a light cotton dress with a tiny floral pattern that fluttered slightly in the breeze. "Honey, I'll be quick. Just there and back," I shouted as I closed the door. "All right, dear," came his voice from the living room. "Don't forget to get the garlic baguette. You know I love it." Halfway to the bakery, I patted my dress pockets. Damn! I left the wallet at home. A small, annoying mistake that would turn my whole life upside down. The keys to the house fit comfortably in my hand. I quickly climbed up the stairs. The elevator had been out of order for 3 days, as usual. The heat was unbearable, and sweat trickled down my back, leaving wet marks on the fabric of the dress. I stopped on the 4th floor to catch my breath. A thought flashed through my mind. It was strange that Emily arrived so early. I noticed her bright red Ford in the parking lot when I was returning. She probably decided to surprise me, I muttered, climbing to our 7th floor. With a familiar motion, I turned the key in the lock. The house was silent, too silent for a Saturday morning. Jason had said he would be home watching a baseball game. His beloved Houston Astros were playing the New York Yankees, and my best friend Emily, who had dropped by, promised to make her signature iced sweet tea while I ran to the store. The television was silent. No baseball, no commentators shouting about home runs. Strange. "Jason?" I called, walking into the living room. "Emily?" Silence was my answer. Only the ticking of the wall clock, which we bought at the antique shop for our 20th anniversary. And then I heard it. A soft, breathless feminine laugh coming from the bedroom. Our bedroom. A laugh I had heard so many times at a cafe table, at girls' nights, at picnics. Emily's laugh. Then followed sounds that could not be mistaken for anything else. My heart pounded so hard it seemed like it was about to break through my chest. My throat tightened as if an invisible hand was squeezing it. My mouth went dry, and every breath came with difficulty. "Stay calm, Christina," I told myself, and tiptoed to the half-open door of our bedroom, one step away from the line where nothing would be the same anymore. I took that step. I saw them immediately. Jason and Emily, my husband and my best friend. Jason stood with his back to me. His shirt lay on the floor next to Emily's turquoise pumps, the very ones I had helped her pick out at the Barton Creek Mall. Emily lay on our bed, her long blonde hair strewn across the pillow, on my pillow, with her eyes closed in pleasure. Right above them on the wall hung our wedding photo in a silver frame, me in a white dress, which we picked out with my mom for a month, and Jason in a sleek tuxedo. We looked so happy, so in love, and now he was kissing another woman under that photo, under our smiling faces. "Jay, come on, there's time for kisses," giggled Emily, tossing back her long blonde hair. "She won't suspect anything. Your Christina lives in her pink illusions, believes in eternal love, like in a fairy tale. You should have been an actor, not a sales manager." "Don't say that." Jason bent down to kiss her neck. I recognized this gesture, this tilt of the head. How many times had he kissed me this way? "Chris is good. It's just, she's become boring. And you're just fire, babe. These few months with you have really brought me to life." Months. Not a fleeting affair, not a momentary lapse. Months of deceit, lies, betrayal. "When are you going to tell her?" Emily reached for his belt. "I'm tired of hiding, Jay. I want to be with you openly." "Soon," Jason sighed. "Just need to choose the right moment. It's not that easy. 25 years after all." "You say that every time." Emily's voice turned petulant. "I think you're just scared to lose your comfortable life. Because Chrissy is such a caring homemaker, right?" I stood as if frozen to the floor. My legs wouldn't obey. Only one thought pulsed in my head. 25 years together. Since I was 14. Half my life. And all this time, I loved a ghost. An illusion. Not a real person. I felt my throat tighten. My eyes burned, but no tears came. I slowly backed away from the door, careful not to make any noise. Now the main thing is not to give myself away, not to let them see how much it hurts. Years flashed before my eyes. Here we are with Jason at the prom at Austin High School, me in a blue dress we picked with Mom for a week. "You're the most beautiful girl in the world," he whispered to me then. Here's Emily helping to pick out a dress for our engagement at a boutique on South Congress, declaring that white is my color. "You'll be the perfect bride, Chris," she said, adjusting the veil. Here we are, the three of us on vacation in Florida 2 years ago, and Emily chirps what a perfect couple we are. "You're like out of a romantic movie, honestly," she laughed, snapping a photo of us against the sunset backdrop. All lies, all pretense, every compliment, every smile, every glance. I quietly, very quietly left the house, silently closed the door, went down the stairs, and stepped outside. It was unbearably hot, but I shivered as if in frost. The sun mercilessly lit up the familiar world, which now seemed alien and hostile. Bread, I suddenly remembered. I went out for bread. Strange how the brain works. Your husband cheats with your best friend, and you remember the bread. Cute, right? I went into the corner bakery, which smelled of cinnamon and fresh pastries. Martha, an elderly woman with kind eyes who had owned this bakery forever, smiled at me. "Good morning, Christina. The usual, baguette and blueberry muffins?" I nodded, unable to utter a word. How strange. Everything is falling apart, and the world goes on. The bakery works, people buy bread, the sun shines. "Are you okay, dear?" Martha frowned, peering into my face. "You look a bit pale." "Everything's fine," I lied, pulling money from the wallet I went back for, because of which I found out the truth. "It's just hot today." "Sure is. A real Texas scorcher," Martha agreed, wrapping the baguette in paper. "Say hi to Jason. Tell him I made his favorite lemon cupcakes." His favorite cupcakes. I wonder if Emily knows about his love for lemon pastries. Does she know he hates cilantro and never eats dishes with it? That he prefers to sleep on the right side of the bed? That he always puts on his right sock first, then the left? Does she know him the way I do? The woman he lived with for 25 years? "I won't cry, no," I decided, clenching my fists. "I won't have a breakdown. I'll just do what I have to." I bought the baguette, paid, waited for change. The cashier was saying something, praising the new blueberry pastries, but the words slipped past consciousness. I walked out of the bakery and headed not home, but to a small nearby park. I sat on a bench, watching the children play. A little boy about 5 was building a sand castle. His mother sat nearby, lovingly watching him. Such a simple moment of happiness. Jason and I didn't have children. We postponed it at first. Careers, mortgage, travel. Then there were health issues, a miscarriage in the 4th month. And then it got late. I always thought we would manage together, that our love was a sufficient foundation. How naive I was. The phone vibrated in my pocket. Jason. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. Then a message came. Chris, where are you? I'm worried. Worried. How about that? When he was cheating with my best friend in our bed, he wasn't worried. I returned home after half an hour. My face seemed frozen. Not a muscle twitched when I saw my husband and my friend in the kitchen. Emily was washing dishes. Jason was reading news on his phone. An ideal picture of Texas domestic bliss. I almost laughed at the absurdity of the situation. Oh, you finally came back. Jason looked up. His face showed concern, but his eyes darted, not meeting mine directly. A sign of deceit, as those psychology books I loved to read said. Long walk, he said, and tension sounded in his voice. I called you. Met Lauren from the next door house. I lied, amazed at how detached my voice sounded. We talked about gardening. She showed me pictures of her new roses. Emily turned, wiping her hands with a towel. Her face showed no trace of embarrassment, no guilt. A professional actress, nothing less. Only a slight blush on her cheeks and too bright a flicker in her eyes revealed her nervousness. Chris, I washed the dishes, she smiled. Because your Jason doesn't know how to approach them. Men, what can you do? Your Jason. How disgusting that sounded now, like a marker of ownership, which she knew had already been erased. Thanks, Em. You're a real friend, I said, and caught their quick, glancing exchange. Earlier I would have taken it as a coincidence. Now I saw in it silent complicity, unspoken words, a secret code between lovers. She doesn't know. Everything is all right. I should go, Emily fussed, gathering her purse. It's late already. Need to prepare for tomorrow's clients at the salon. I have 3 colorings and 1 haircut. Of course, I nodded. Jason, walk Emily to the car. It's dark already. They exchanged glances again, this time with surprise. I usually didn't insist on formalities like that. No need, I'll go myself, Emily hastened, nervously tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. It's just a few steps to the parking lot. No, let him walk you. I smiled so that it made my cheeks ache. What's the world coming to? A young woman walks alone in the parking lot at night? Who knows what could happen? Jason silently nodded and grabbed the car keys. His face showed confusion. Surely my insistence seemed strange to him. I'll be quick, he tossed to me, and they left, leaving me alone in the silence of our kitchen. Once they closed the door, I sank heavily onto a stool, picked up the phone, opened the browser. How to file for divorce in Texas, I typed with trembling fingers. Then erased and typed another query. Monthly storage rental in Austin. No, my dears, I thought, taking a deep breath. I won't scream, cry, or tell you how much it hurts. I didn't build this life for 25 years to leave with my tail between my legs. A plan had formed in my mind. Clear, cold, ruthless. They think I'm a naive fool who doesn't notice anything? Well, let it stay that way. For now. I imagined what they were talking about now, standing by her car in the dark parking lot. Maybe they were quickly kissing, seizing the moment. Discussed how cleverly they fooled Clueless, trusting Christina. Perhaps they planned the future. Their future. Without me. When Jason returned, I calmly watched TV, flipping channels with an indifferent air. "So, did you walk her?" I asked, not taking my eyes off the screen. "Yeah, of course, everything's fine." He was clearly thrown off by my calmness. Jason knew me, or thought he did. He expected tears, breakdowns, questions, but not this icy calm. "That's just great," I replied, stopping on a channel showing a documentary about ocean life. "Look, aren't these jellyfish interesting? So beautiful but deadly. Nature is amazing, isn't it?" For some reason, Jason seemed uneasy. Did my eyes flicker strangely, or did he sense a hidden meaning in my words? "Yeah, amazing," he muttered, sitting down next to me, but not too close. "Are you okay, Chris? You seem different today." "Absolutely," I smiled, watching the screen as a jellyfish enveloped its prey with lethal tentacles. "Just a little tired. You know, I think we should go somewhere together. It's been a while since we took a break." "Sure." Jason relaxed, deciding everything was all right. "Wherever you want. Maybe to San Antonio for the weekend?" "Maybe," I shrugged. "We'll think about it tomorrow." 2 weeks. That's how long it took to organize everything. I mentally checked off my list. Find a storage, rent it for 3 months in advance, hire movers, change the locks, get legal advice. Simple as pie. Much easier than looking into the eyes of a man who said he loved but entertained with your best friend. Those 2 weeks were the strangest in my life. I got up, made breakfast, smiled, kissed my husband, sending him off to work, called Emily to chat about trifles. I played the role of a happy wife and faithful friend, knowing that all my life was a stage set hiding ugly truth. Jason noticed nothing. Perhaps he trusted my convenient character too much, or perhaps he was so wrapped up in the new romance he lost vigilance. I noticed now every detail: how he lingered at work, how he left the room to talk on the phone, how he sometimes smelled of someone else's perfume. Not my light florals, but heavy, spicy, like what Emily loved. "Chris, I'm leaving for a couple of days," he said one Wednesday during breakfast. "All right." I pushed him the coffee cup. "Where this time?" "To Dallas. There's a contract to sign with new suppliers. Boring paperwork. You'd fall asleep from such tedium." Lies. Even his eye twitches when he lies. Earlier it seemed almost cute. Now it caused only disgust. I knew there was no contract. I knew he planned to spend those days with Emily. Maybe at that sweet hotel by Lake Travis where we once celebrated our anniversary. "I see," I sighed. "I'll invite Emily, then we'll have a girls' night with wine and shows. It's been a while since we gathered, like old times." Jason choked on his coffee, and several drops spilled onto his pristine shirt. I calmly handed him a napkin. "Maybe you shouldn't. She, has problems at work right now." Jason dabbled at his shirt with the napkin, studiously avoiding my gaze. "Oh, and you know this how?" I asked casually, spreading jam on toast. My hand didn't tremble, though inside everything boiled with fury. Now Jason looked genuinely frightened. It was even amusing to watch him try to wiggle out. "I just thought so," he mumbled, and glanced at his watch. "Oh, I'm late. Meeting at 9, and I haven't prepared the report." He quickly got up, pecked my cheek. That kiss burned me like a brand, and dashed out of the kitchen, leaving his coffee unfinished. In the evening, I actually called Emily. "Hey, Em, I just thought we could go somewhere for the weekend." My voice was cheerful and carefree. "Jason's on a business trip, and I'm bored alone at home. How about a spa hotel out of town? Massage, pool, cocktails? A pause hung on the other end of the line. I could almost see Emily feverishly concocting an excuse. Oh, Chris, I'd love to, but I have a very important client booked last minute for coloring. Her voice sounded falsely upbeat. A senator's wife, you know. I can't refuse. And my whole weekend is booked solid. Of course, your client, I snorted, hanging up. How could I not have guessed? Apparently your client is my husband, and you really plan to spend the whole weekend with him. Friday, as soon as Jason whisked off to another client meeting with a suitcase he supposedly packed for a business trip, I called the movers. 4 stocky men arrived in half an hour and started methodically carrying Jason's things out in boxes: suits, shirts, shoes, sports gear. Everything that belonged to him. Is this a divorce? One of them asked, an older man with gray whiskers. Something like that. I nodded, watching as they packed Jason's collection of vintage records he was so proud of. A good deal, the mover smirked. My ex did the same. Came home, door changed, things in boxes at the neighbors. Everything immediately clear. Is this all for storage? The foreman clarified. Yeah, at the address I gave you. I nodded, signing the receipt. When the last box with things was carried out, I sat at the kitchen table and wrote a short note. Jason, I have 2 pieces of news for you. First, I know about you and Emily. Second, your things are in storage at the address below. The key to the storage is with the guard. I've changed the house lock. I'll send you divorce papers. Tell Emily that friendship ends as did our marriage. I reread the note twice. No emotions, no reproaches, no tears on the paper. Only cold, dry facts. Exactly what he deserved. I sealed the envelope, placed it in the mailbox, and called the locksmith to change the locks. An elderly Texan with a weathered face arrived within an hour. Husband lost the keys? He asked, installing the new lock. No, I shook my head. It's me who lost him. The locksmith hummed understandingly and asked no more questions. In the evening, I sat in the empty house, sipping red wine and looking at the wedding photo I took off the bedroom wall. Young, happy faces. We were so naive then, believed so much in eternal love. The phone was ringing incessantly. Jason. Emily. Jason again. I didn't answer. Let them suffer, wondering what happened. Let them feel at least a drop of the fear and uncertainty I experienced. Emily herself called a couple of days later. Chris, how are you? My friend's voice sounded falsely concerned. We haven't seen each other for ages. You're not answering calls and I'm worried. Just fine, I answered dryly. Conducting a small life audit, getting rid of useless things. And people. A pause. I could almost see Emily nervously biting her lip, as she always did when anxious. Maybe we could meet, sit down, talk at our favorite cafe on 6th Street. Her voice came with ingratiating notes. You know, Em. I looked out the window where the fiery Texas sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of betrayal and pain. I've become more selective with companies lately. I now value only honest people who don't cheat and betray. Do you understand me? Emily was silent, then quietly said, Chris, what are you talking about? Did someone say something to you? There are so many gossips now. I almost wanted to laugh. She was still trying to play innocent. Don't, Emily. I know everything about you and Jason. My voice was calm, almost businesslike. But don't worry, there won't be scandals. Just disappear from my life and take Jason. He's fully yours, as he seems to have been recently. "Chris, listen," she started, but I cut off the conversation, pressing the red button. Jason returned home at the same time Emily called. I watched from the window as he walked towards the house, relaxed gait, whistling something cheerful. In his hand was a small bouquet of wildflowers. My favorites. What a touching attempt to play the loving husband. I snorted and withdrew from the window. First, there were doorbell rings, then knocks, then yells. "Chris, open up! What kind of jokes?" His voice became increasingly irritated. I didn't respond, didn't even approach the door. Then I heard the sound of a key in the lock being unsuccessfully turned, and then knocking, desperation rising. "Christina, stop fooling around!" Jason shouted. "Open up immediately." Calls now started arriving on the phone, followed by a message. "What's going on? Why can't I get into the house? Did you change the locks?" I replied only with, "Take the letter in the mailbox." Half an hour later, Jason called again, and this time I picked up. "Chris, this is insane!" His voice shook with fury. "What's this? What relations with Emily? This is all made up." "Jay," I sighed, marveling at his audacity. "I saw you with my own eyes, at home, in our bedroom, under our wedding photo. Don't bother with lies." Jason fell silent, then said in a completely different voice, "Open the door. Let's talk. I'll explain everything. It was a mistake, a momentary weakness." "A momentary weakness lasting several months?" I chuckled bitterly. "Nothing to discuss. Your things are in storage. Address in the note. Take them and leave my life." "And where do you suggest I live?" His voice had notes of irritation. The real Jason finally emerged through the mask of model husband. "Well," I smiled, though he couldn't see it. "There's Emily. She'll house you, I'm sure. And don't call me again." I hung up and only then allowed myself to cry. Tears streamed down my cheeks, dripping onto the table. 25 years. A quarter century. My whole conscious life. And all this time, I loved a man who didn't deserve even a small fraction of that love. However, Jason didn't rush to move in with Emily, and I understood why. Her character wasn't sweet, and she wasn't much of a homemaker. During the affair, Jason hadn't noticed this, but now fully experienced it. One thing is passionate encounters in hotels and secret meetings, and quite another is everyday life with a person. He called after 3 days. His voice sounded subdued. "Listen, about Emily, it was a mistake," he said quietly. "What a pity," I replied dryly, leafing through a furniture catalog. I decided to completely renew the bedroom interior, so nothing would remind me of the betrayal. "Can you let me come home? I've realized everything." His voice turned pleading. "It was a foolishness. Chris, I love you. I've always loved only you." It seemed so funny that I barely held back from laughing. "You know what's the funniest thing, Jason? You're lying right now." My voice was calm, almost gentle. "You're not sorry about me. You're sorry about your comfort, your settled life, your couch before the TV. Me, you stopped loving long ago." "Chris, oh come on. No, he stammered, trying to find the right words. "Jay, that's it." And I hung up, feeling a strange relief. The doorbell rang when I was arranging books on new shelves. For the last month, I'd been methodically transforming the house, getting rid of anything that reminded me of them. New ocean blue curtains instead of beige, which Jason had chosen. New bedding with a geometric pattern instead of floral, which Emily loved to show off in her social media posts. New dishes to replace the wedding china set Jason's mother gave us. A clean slate on which I'd write my new story. Emily stood at the door, pale, haggard, with a dim look. She looked as if she hadn't slept for days. "Can I come in, Chris?" Her voice trembled. I measured her with a cold look. "Don't think so. What do you want?" Emily shifted from foot to foot, nervously tugging the strap of her designer handbag. The very one I helped her choose at the sale at the Barton Creek Mall. "To talk. Explain everything. I'm just embarrassed about how it turned out." She lowered her eyes, unable to meet my gaze. "Explain what?" I crossed my arms over my chest. "How you cuddled with my husband in our bedroom on our sheets, which I, by the way, bought for our anniversary. How you whispered to him that I wouldn't notice because I live in pink illusions." I surprised myself at how calmly it sounded. No yelling, no tantrums, just cold statements of facts. "Chris, it's all complicated. I didn't want it to turn out this way." Her voice trembled and her eyes filled with tears. But I knew Emily too well. She could cry on cue when she needed to manipulate. "Really?" I smirked. "How did you want it to turn out? That I wouldn't find out? Or that I'd bless you for a happy life in a White House with a picket fence and a golden retriever on the lawn?" Emily lowered her head, a strand of her hair falling across her face, hiding her expression. "Jason dumped me, Chris." Her voice was almost a whisper. "You don't say." I crossed my arms. Who could have guessed? The Texas macho man turned out to be not so reliable? "I really love him," Emily blurted out, raising tearful eyes to me. "He just says that without you, everything feels wrong. That you created comfort, cared. He wants to come back." I laughed. Truly laughed, throwing my head back. The laughter came from my chest, bursting out along with all the pain and bitterness of the past weeks. "Emily, seriously? You came to tell me that Jason misses his housekeeper?" I wiped the tears that laughter had brought. "Isn't that exactly what you thought of me? Convenient Christine, who would endure everything, forgive everything, prepare dinner, and serve beer with the baseball game." I stepped forward, and Emily involuntarily stepped back, as if afraid of me. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "You always envied me," I continued, looking straight into the eyes of my former friend. "Since our youth, my marriage, my life. And you decided to destroy it all with a single swoop. But you know the joke? By taking Jason, you only got a pathetic man who immediately asked to come back under the wing of the convenient wife once he realized you weren't going to iron his shirts and cook his favorite medium-rare steak." Emily shuddered. A tear rolled down her cheek. A real one, not theatrical. "He wanted to make up with you. He said it was just a fling, nothing serious," she sobbed, wiping her cheek with the back of her hand. "What did you think?" I started closing the door. "Well, don't worry. I refused. He's fully yours. Well, he was yours, it seems. Now he's nobody's." "Christina, wait. I wanted to say that I'm sorry." Emily stepped forward, trying to stop the closing door. "That I'm ashamed. That I was blinded." "No." I cut her off sharply, feeling the wave of anger rising within me, which I had been holding back for so long. "We've talked enough. I threw out of my house all the things that were tied to the past life. I'm throwing out you two as well. Goodbye, Emily, and don't come back." I slammed the door and leaned against it, sliding to the floor. For the first time in all these weeks, I allowed myself to cry. I wept, releasing all the pain, all the disappointment, all the rage. Tears streamed down my cheeks, dripping onto the new carpet I had bought yesterday. I cried not for Jason, not for Emily's betrayal. I mourned the 25 years of life I had spent on a lie. Then I got up, washed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. My face was swollen from tears, but my eyes were clear, determined. "You can do it, Christina," I said to my reflection. "You're starting a new chapter." 2 weeks later, I sent in the divorce papers. Jason tried to meet me, called, wrote, even waited outside my house, but I was steadfast. I didn't want to listen to his excuses, didn't want to see his face. All I needed was his signature on the documents. "Are you sure you don't even want to hear him out?" asked my lawyer, Maria, flipping through our prenuptial agreement. "Sometimes people really do change." "They change, of course." I nodded. "But I don't want to spend another 25 years to be sure of it. It's too expensive a price for an experiment." Another month later, I landed a new job at a marketing agency. For the first time in 25 years, I lived only for myself. I signed up for salsa classes, started going to a book club, created a profile on a dating site, though I wasn't rushing into new relationships. "You need time," said my new friend Sarah when we sat in a cafe after dance class, "to heal the wounds and understand what you really want. You know what's the weirdest?" I stirred my coffee, watching the sugar dissolve. "I don't feel broken. Rather, liberated. As if I shed a heavy backpack I've been carrying for years." One day, leaving a grocery store, I saw them. Jason and Emily. They stood by a car arguing vehemently. Emily waved her hands. Jason looked worn out and aged. I didn't hide or avoid them. I walked calmly past, and Jason noticed me. "Chris," he called out. "Can I talk to you?" I stopped and turned. Emily froze, unsure of what to do. Her face showed fear and shame. "I think everything has been said, Jason." My voice sounded calm, almost friendly. "Please." He took a step towards me. "I was a fool. I messed everything up. I miss you every day. It was a mistake." I looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, I felt neither pain nor anger, only a slight sadness for the lost years, an empty pity for the man who had once been the center of my universe. "You don't miss me, Jason," I said gently. "You miss the idea of me, the comfort, the coziness. But you know what? I'm no longer the woman who will live for someone else. I've found myself, and that's more important than finding a man." He opened his mouth to say something, but I shook my head. "No need, Jay. Words won't bring back the past, and I'm not sure I want to bring it back." I turned to leave, but then turned back. "And you know what? I'm grateful to you both. Thanks to you, I finally woke up and started living truly." Jason looked at me with pain and surprise. Emily lowered her eyes, fiddling with the strap of her purse. "Goodbye," I said, and walked to my car, feeling stronger with each step. The divorce was finalized after 6 months. I kept the house, Jason got our second car and part of the savings. Emily disappeared from Austin. They said she moved to Houston, starting anew. Jason also moved out of our neighborhood, renting an apartment on the other side of town. He married a girl from the office where he worked. "Do you feel better?" asked Sarah when I showed her the final divorce papers. "You know, I thought this moment would be more dramatic." I examined my signature on the paper. But it's really just a formality. I broke up with him in my soul the very day I saw him with Emily. Life slowly but surely was getting back on track. I moved up the career ladder, made new friends, started traveling more. I finally felt truly free. Then Michael came into my life. We met at a contemporary art exhibition. He was a literature professor at the University of Texas, a widower with 2 grown children, tall, with penetrating blue eyes and a neat graying beard. He was looking at a painting, tilting his head, writing something in a small notebook. "Like it?" I asked, stopping next to him. "More like puzzled," he replied with a soft smile. "I'm still trying to understand what the artist meant with these red splotches on the blue background." "Maybe nothing?" I suggested. Maybe he just wanted us to feel something, not understand. He looked at me with interest. "Do you love art?" "I'm just learning to understand it," I answered honestly. All my life I was too busy to go to museums, and now I'm catching up. "Michael." He extended his hand. "Christina." I shook his hand, firm and warm. Our romance developed slowly, without haste. We went to movies, dined in small restaurants, talked about books, politics, art. Michael didn't rush things, respecting my past and my fears. He was patient and attentive. "I'm afraid," I admitted to him one evening when we sat on the veranda of my house, looking at the stars. "Afraid to trust again and make the same mistake." "I'm afraid too." He took my hand. "After Elizabeth's death, I thought I'd never be able to love again. And then I met you." After a year of dating, Michael proposed. Not theatrically, not with the ring in a champagne glass, but simply and sincerely during a walk by Lady Bird Lake. "I won't promise you eternal love," he said, looking into my eyes. "We both know life is more complicated than any promises, but I can promise to respect you, cherish every day with you, and try to be the best man you deserve. Will you marry me?" I cried, unable to utter a word, and just nodded. For the first time in years, I cried out of happiness. We decided to have a small wedding, just close friends and family. No elaborate ceremonies, no pomp, just a beautiful celebration of love and a new life. We got married in April, when Austin was bathed in blooming trees and bright wildflowers. The ceremony took place in a small garden by the lake. I wore a simple silk ivory dress, without a veil and long train. Michael kept his eyes fixed on me, as if I were the 8th wonder of the world. 5 years later, I sat on the veranda of our new home in the suburbs of Austin. Michael was reading a newspaper. I was going through the mail. Among the letters and bills, I found an envelope with no return address. Inside was a short note and a newspaper clipping. "Christina, thought you should know. Emily." I unfolded the clipping. It was a small obituary. Jason Harris, 45, died of a heart attack. Left behind a wife and 1-year-old daughter. I sat looking at these lines, trying to understand what I felt. Sadness? Regret? Pain? But inside was only quiet sadness. Not for the man who betrayed me, but for the part of my life now gone. "Bad news?" Michael put down the newspaper, noticing my expression. "Jason's dead." I handed him the clipping. "Heart attack." Michael frowned. "I'm sorry, Chris. Do you want to go to the funeral?" I thought about the grieving young widow with a child in her arms, Jason's parents, friends, and colleagues. The appearance of the ex-wife would only complicate an already difficult day. "No," I shook my head. "I'll remember him in my own way, Here. In the evening, I went out to the garden with a glass of wine. It was a warm Texas night, the air filled with the scent of jasmine and pines. I looked at the stars, twinkling in the deep blue sky, thinking about the strange twists of fate. To you, Jason, I whispered, raising the glass to the sky. For the 25 years that taught me strength, patience, and wisdom. For things turning out exactly as they should have. That evening, I wrote a letter to his wife, didn't introduce myself, just offered condolences and sent a check in their daughter's name. The girl wasn't to blame for her father's sins, and perhaps someday the help would come in handy. Then I closed that chapter of my life completely and irrevocably. After all, my true story was just beginning. The story of a woman who lost everything but found herself. Michael found me in the garden and silently hugged me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "About how strange life is." I snuggled up to him. Sometimes the most painful events turn out to be the start of the happiest changes. Sometimes you have to go through the fire to be reborn. He nodded. Like a phoenix. Like a phoenix. I smiled, looking at the night sky. Thank you for finding me, Michael. No. He turned me to him. You found yourself, Christina. I'm just the lucky one who was around when it happened. I kissed him under the starlit Texas sky, feeling my heart fill with gratitude for this moment, for this life, for all the trials that led me here, to a place where I was finally truly happy. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.